Gervonta Tank Davis has his rematch with Lamont Roach Jr. He's planning on fighting Jake Paul at the end of the year, which is going to be a super fight. This fight is going to make a lot of money. And ultimately it's going to be a big payday for both fighters. And I respect Jake Paul for this because Jake Paul, he originally intended to fight the face of boxing, Saul Canelo Alvarez. And we all know Turkey Al-Sheikh basically stopped Canelo from taking that fight with Jake Paul. So Jake Paul started having negotiations with the second face of boxing, which is Gervonta Tank Davis. And obviously this would be a huge fight. We all know Tank is a knockout artist. We all know Jake Paul, you know, even though he doesn't fight the best opponents, he gets a lot of KOs. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. You know, size matters. Pause. There's weight classes for a reason, guys. Jake Paul is 6 feet tall. Gervonta Davis is 5'5", right? Jake Paul pretty much fights at, you know what, cruiserweight or light heavyweight. Like the guy's like 200 and something pounds, probably like 220, probably weighs in at, you know, 180 to 200 pounds, right? Gervonta Tank Davis fights at 135 pounds. So let's just say Gervonta Tank Davis's walk around weight is like 150 to 160, right? So you got a huge difference in height and you got a huge difference in weight. Now, we just saw with Gervonta Tank Davis, he did not hurt Lamont Roach at all, right? So if you can't hurt a dude that's in your same weight class, what makes people think Gervonta Tank Davis could hurt Jake Paul? Like seriously, like that weight, that power isn't going to translate to a dude as big as Jake Paul, right? Obviously, if Tank was to hit Jake Paul flush, there is a possibility that he could get dropped, but there's also a possibility that those punches aren't going to hurt because he's so much taller and he weighs more than Tank. You understand what I'm saying? So he might be able to handle that power much better. You understand what I'm saying? I think this fight would be a huge upset for boxing fans because there's a possibility not only that Tank loses this fight, but there's a possibility that Jake Paul knocks out Gervonta Tank Davis. And like guys, think about this. What if Jake Paul was to knock out Gervonta Davis in the same fashion that he knocked out Nate Robinson? Yo, could you guys imagine? Like, the world might stop for a couple of seconds, y'all. Like, hip-hop culture and African-American culture, all that shit might be destroyed in one day if Jake Paul was to do that, bro. Because y'all gotta understand, bro, like, Gervonta Tank Davis, like, he is the face of boxing as far as America. Like, we all know Canelo's the face of boxing, but as far as, like, Americans love Tank, bro, because, you know, Tank, he knocks out people damn near every fight. But if the knockout artist was to get knocked out by Jake Paul, who's, you know, a Caucasian, we all know how black people are, like, that should have hurt different, bruh. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to bring race up. I'm just keeping it real with y'all, man. I know how my people are, bruh. Like, me being African American, like, my people is automatically gonna assume that Tank is gonna knock out Jake Paul. You know, they don't understand that there's weight classes for a reason. They don't understand that Jake Paul is much taller than Tank. He weighs more than Tank, right? Which means that he may not have the same punching power as Tank, but his punches might hurt more than Tank. Put it this way. What I'm saying is, if Jake Paul punches Tank, I think it's gonna hurt Tank more than if Tank punches Jake Paul, because of the size and because of the weight. We just saw in Tank's fight against Lamont Roach, he couldn't hurt Lamont Roach. So what makes y'all think he could hurt Jake Paul? We ain't never seen Jake Paul get knocked out before. We only seen him get dropped the one time against Tommy Fury. And Tommy Fury is a big dude. You can't compare Tommy Fury to Gervonta Tank Davis because Tommy Fury is a bigger dude than Gervonta Davis. You understand what I'm saying? So, you know, I feel like Jake Paul will win this fight. I do think there's a big possibility Jake Paul would knock Tank out. And for the people, I already know there's going to be people in the comment section that disagree with me. But just remember this. I told y'all that Mike Tyson was going to lose to Jake Paul. And all of y'all said I was stupid. Y'all said I don't know boxing. Y'all kept bringing up the fact that Mike Tyson, just because he's old, he's still Mike Tyson. And look what happened. Mike Tyson looked like he should have been in a goddamn senior citizen home, man. The man could barely walk around the ring, kept chewing on his gloves like it was bubble gum, and got his ass whooped. Jake Paul, if he wanted to, he could have easily knocked out Mike Tyson. He chose not to. And a lot of y'all are so delusional that y'all, instead of just admitting that you were wrong, you want to say, oh, well, the fight was rigged. Jake Paul paid Mike Tyson to not win the fight. Mike Tyson was holding back. Nah, bro. Mike Tyson is old. Not only is Mike Tyson old, he hasn't had a professional boxing fight in years. Mike Tyson is 58 years old, y'all, and he does drugs. He smokes weed. He takes ayahuasca and all that bullshit. You can't take off that many years of boxing at that age and just come back and look like Iron Mike. That's what y'all was expecting. Y'all thought, be honest, y'all thought because of Mike Tyson's training videos leading up to the fight, y'all thought he was going to go into the fight and do that same shit. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. Just because you look good, on the punching pads, that don't mean you're going to look good in the ring with another man. That don't mean that. It's just like sparring. Just because you beat somebody in sparring doesn't mean you'll beat somebody in a professional fight. Now, you do have rare instances like with Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero. Rolly Romero was whooping Ryan's ass in sparring, and he ultimately whooped his ass in that fight that happened a couple weeks ago. But I'm just saying, man, if this Jake Paul and Tank shit, y'all better hope Lamont Roach win this fight. Because if Tank dumbass is really dumb enough to go in there with Jake Paul, I'm telling y'all, he's going to get hurt. And he's not going to care because at the end of the day, it's his last fight before he retires. And Tank is probably going to make $40 million off that fight, maybe more. So he's not going to care. Even if he does lose or get or get beat up or whatever the case is, he gonna make a shit ton of money and sell off into the sunset. Let me know what y'all think. It's your boy Wavy. I'm out.